So it's Kevin Price, the Vice President of Portfolio Strategy and Enablement for EAM, Digital Asset Strategic Advisor and Technical Product Evangelist at HxGN Asset Lifecycle Intelligence. I will pass it on to him.
So that's me, Kevin Price at hexagon.com. That's awesome on mobile if you want it. Love to chat with you a little bit more. I don't get paid as much as that technician per hour that said earlier, but I do well at the bar. So later on, if you want to be able to chat more, we can. So it's been over 37 years since we worked in this, but if we look at the history of this particular, it's been around a while. You can see all this Infor stuff. Around 1986 is actually where the first line of code came from. And there were two actual products at the time. One was called MP2, way back when, which actually stood for Maintenance Pack version 2.0. When we had originally we were doing operations work and we were doing sensors and things like that, so we called the operations pack. And what we found was someone needs to do a work order to fix the condition that we found. We have operations pack, let's call it maintenance pack. So we did. And then we had money from given to us from Microsoft for a development partnership. And they said, it would be cool if you took your DOS system and Windows 3.1.1, aging all of us here a little bit, and then make it into something cool we have called Windows 95 and 98. Yes, that'd be great. So we did it, and we said, what's a new version? Let's call it MP2. So that's what happened there. Then we got to a block, a really big block. We had something in the world called Computerized Maintenance Management System, and it was great. It did a lot of work orders. And it only had 4 different statuses, and it had 10 different custom fields. And it only did a certain amount of things, and our customers wanted to do more. Our customers wanted to get more out of the performance of their assets and pay attention to the things that make those tick well. So we had to look a different way, and we were looking out in the market, and we found a company that was in the Netherlands called SQL Systems. And SQL Systems had a solution that didn't even have a work order in it at all. None. There was no work order. All they did was focus on the asset. And they did updates and events. And that's why if you know the back end of the system, there's a table called R5 events. And the actual R5 came from because R was a name of, was a abbreviation first letter of what the product was called. Back then, the product was called rapier. And a rapier is a fencing sword, right? Because it was supposed to slash maintenance costs. As cheesy as that sounds, that's what it was. But it went from version 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And every time they would go in the back end and they would rename it 5.0. So that's why you see R5 is because it came from, that's the version that was released at the time. And then we went a little bit further and said, you know, we were doing iProcure at the time. We brought over Javier in 98. He seemed to be pretty decent at what he did. And we were like, okay, we did like a thing called multi-tenant. We hosted it all back at iProcure. What if we did that to the maintenance world? So we said we're going to do that. So that's why we did the first cloud deployment back in 2001 and had that available. We did a bunch of different stuff around it. We built it up. In 2006, we sold to a company called Infor, which no one heard of. And it took us years to be able to educate what that is. And to this day, people call oh, you're DataStream, right? Yes, I'm DataStream. Infor got skipped over a little bit sometimes, but it came through and nobody knew what it was. Infor didn't even know what it was completely. We had to teach them on what assets are and how important it is and why it's connected and what it means. And we're still doing some of that today. We went on further. We kept chugging along. And then we got acquired by a new company called HxGN. Their repeated history, what is HxGN? Who is HxGN? What do they do? And then now we go back into HxGN itself and we have to say, what's enterprise asset management? Oh, that's a work order, right? No, it's a little bit more. So we keep seeing history repeat itself. And I know that you all see history repeat itself over and again, and it's fun. It's just a little frustrating from time to time because as we say in at least my area, we say we've seen this movie before. We know what happens to it. We know where value comes about, and we're going to get there. It's going to take time for us to be able to get in this organization. It's big. They have a lot of reach. But when we looked at the acquisition candidates that were out there, which there were a lot of, this one made complete sense. Back in Infor, it was important because it had a touch point of something called an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning Tools, right? We touched every single ERP that we could. We did work with workforce. We did work with supply chain. It was great, but it didn't get us into that industrial engineering grade type of environment. Here, that's all I have. These people go deep. We're going to talk about what that means because there's a certain place that we fit. So we kept going on, and we started doing a release in a different way. And in 2022, just not too long ago, we had some releases that went out to the cloud and then went out to on-premise. And then in November, we released out version 12. Version 12 is what's out there now. We have the highest percentage, according to Gartner and ARC at least, the highest percentage of our customers in all the market that's on the most recent version out of all of them. And it's because of the way we designed it, and I'll give you stories about that too if you want to hear. But the idea is that we were trying to get our customers to where they can apply patches and updates at will, and it wouldn't mess up their environment. We had bumps with that, but we're still going in that direction. But we're hitting now in a cadence that's going about a clip of once a quarter to the cloud, once a month for patches, patch feature sets, and then we also go once a year. That's released to the cloud and to on-premise. And the idea is to get our customers the opportunity to be able to keep up to speed on version and everything else that's built into it. So that same application that was the first line of code in 1986 is the same application today. It continues to build upon it. It grows. It's bigger. If anybody's looked at the Tech Ref Guide recently, it's big. It's growing. We used to have an ERD, an area relationship diagram that we put on the wall back at DataStream. Now I don't even know if we have a wall that's big enough to do it. This is where, in my opinion, we started. And again, history repeats itself. It also repeats itself in many other ways. This is where it's going to end. And Daniel's looking at this now because he's staring at it because this comes from their demonstration environment. But that's cool. We can talk about that later. That's why it says demonstration work order, nothing specific. A work order, to us in the field, is one of the most important documents around. To many others that don't understand EAM, it's a piece of paper. Reason why it's there is because literally this piece of paper or this digital copy of it in a mobile device is literally, in some examples, the difference between life and death. Think about it. That asset's not running correctly in an environment where you have transportation services, it's not inspected correctly, and it wasn't done correctly, it can actually cause an accident. It not only hurts the people that are driving it, the people that are inside it, but also the people around it. So it needs to be right. It doesn't need to have the foolishness that I have up here, demonstration work order, but hopefully you get the idea. If you think about work that's done reactively, work that's done preventatively, work that's done predictively, or if you're in the space now, work that's done prescriptively, it still is one of the most important transactions that you have. Arguably, other transactions will come into play, ones that do condition assessments, that should go out and do the inspection of what to do before you do it. There could be a great argument where that's a more important activity as well, but in EAM, what is that? It's an inspection work order that's done. So when we think about where asset management goes, we think about it coming back to the same place from an EAM perspective. But there's other areas that this particular organization specific around HxGN can take it. They have an environment here, and this is where I give you a little bit of idea of who the heck HxGN is. They have an idea here that provides a visualization component that we could never do. We did visualization with our folks here coming in from Italy with OpenCAD, and they're extraordinary in what they can do in building out visualization transfers of drawings, of building information models, of different types of P&D diagrams. They're taking it a step further. So the question that we always asked ourselves is, what if we were able to give that version, that graphical visualization of our assets in the environment and put some intelligence in it? What if we were able to bring our DNA of who we are of those assets and the condition that we represent and the different types of gradients that we can be able to provide and give it meaning? Well, then that digital reality of that or that digital trend would be smart, wouldn't it? Because I can relate that intelligence in a certain way. And that's where we can go and where they have already been. So if you think about HxGN at a glance, there's a couple things that's important to them, a few. So the specific one here about autonomy, leveraging data to its fullest potential for the outcome that you want. There's a difference between autonomous and autonomy, right? Autonomous and autonomy, Javier defines it, and we'll call him out because he took off. But the idea of the difference between the two is an example where you would have in your car cruise control. So you can be able to have it go, and it can actually have your speed. It can give you a little bit of warning beforehand. Or what about the collision avoidance, the driverless, that type of approach? That's completely autonomous, right? Because it's actually seeing a car, it can go around it, it can slow down, it can do other things. And actually one of the places where a lot of that technology is built is here in Greenville, just a small little push. But the idea is they're doing really well on that. They do a lot around it, and they're continuing to build upon it. Innovation is continually something that they focus on from many different levels. As HxGN as a whole, the buying entity group in Sweden, HxGN AB, individual silos of applications and different divisions. Strategically vital, this is important too, that their value is. So if you think about what we can provide and what we can scale, the idea of sustainability is coming back again. For all of you who have been with us for a little while, there was a solution that we had called Asset Sustainability Edition. And that was back in 2004. That's when we put capability in the system to track water, air, gas, electric, and steam, and be able to have a different type of view in what that footprint meant. This is a company that focuses on that as well. And they have huge examples. They own an entire photoelectric power plant in Barcelona called Our Evolution. They have tools that are going out and doing digital representations and scanning and condition updates of seagrass in the Bahamas. To be able to indicate what's happening in our waters. There's a lot that they can do behind that. They are. Sustainability just keeps to be a big thing for them. Stability that's consistently proven is showing this growth of the company. It's starting to build. It's getting bigger. It's not an organization that will fail. Look it up. They are publicly traded. Financial reports are out there. It's very important. When they bought us, they want to put us into everything that they do. Which is nice. We did that back in 2006 when we were acquired by Infor. They put us into everything that we do. This is doing it again, seeing the movie over again, but it's doing it in a more engineering grade. Very different. We talk about our solutions, audit grade. We talk about usability and things like that at a certain consumer grade. Here, industrial engineering grade is one of the biggest things. The big contributors that they have that's built into here, as you can see from the top left, of divisions such as manufacturing intelligence. They have a whole group, a whole division that focuses just on some of those things. They got about 30,000 customers there. Asset Lifecycle Intelligence, that's where we live. It used to be PPM, which stood for Power Process and Marine. So if you saw that before, we actually changed that with this acquisition. We came along, we gave them a little bit more focus on asset. They wanted to restructure who they are. They even renamed the whole division to Asset Lifecycle Intelligence. Their focus is on it, and it's ALI. If we catch anybody that calls it Ollie, oh, they get pissed. And they want you to be able to go up and put it into the jar. On other areas around mining, the solutions here are really cool. They have automation that's built in throughout the yin yang. There's whole plants that they have that have no drivers of these trucks. They have no operators of these diggers. They can be able to understand where to go and how to go because of their technology that's built completely. It's amazing. Built down here is agriculture. Exalt Solutions is another one. When I think about Exalt, I think about a lot of the stuff that we had with Infor.OS. There's a lot of technical features that are there. There's a lot of integration features that are there. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of those in our session tomorrow. That's what Javi and I are doing to talk about the future of the rollout. Geospatial, geosystems, safety and infrastructure. They have a whole group that's dedicated to what we would have as a public sector, and that's built into it. We're starting to get more exposure to them as they get more exposure to us, and where we can be able to work together. But we're about a year in now because it was October 21st officially. I mean, October 2021 officially. So we hit that year anniversary in October 2022. And it's funny because this exact stage actually was over there is where I stood when they came over to us and said, "Welcome to HxGN." So the group all came here to Greenville, and some of the people that are in this room are there. And we actually got to introduce ourselves to people. We got to hang out with them. And that culture, the people that are there, their headquarters are in Huntsville, Alabama. But I did get a chance to go meet with them and talk a little bit more in the football about them. They're the same as us. They have a lot of the same values. They have customers that have been around for 42 years. They have people that work for them that have been working on the product for 20, 30 years. I've been doing this now for 26 plus, and there's some folks that we still have that Andre, for example, you have to call, he's still with us here, you have to call him employee number 0 because he gets pissed. He's Dutch. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. All these different ones that come in are still around. They have that too. They have the same type of selling environment, the same type of service environment. It's a lot of similarities. There are differences, and we're working through them. But the idea is that it's a great place to be in. So if you think about HxGN, you think about who the heck is HxGN. These are some of the things that they put out, and I wanted to share them with you today. Public safety solutions protect almost 1 billion people on the planet. There's a lot of solutions that are out there that you have no idea of. They do some works around visualization components, scanning components, automation components that are built into it. Manufacturing technologies used in 95% of cars produced worldwide. If you flew into Greenville-Spartanburg Airport, you'll see a car that's out there. There's a little HxGN logo on the bottom. They used to have a automated one that was out there that was powered by HxGN that was done with other folks here, but the idea is that was built in. The Burj Khalifa, it was done with some of the technology that we have built in. Over here on the right hand, HxGN Technologies, driving efficiency, the more than on and on and on and on. There's huge. If you really dig into it and you see some of the solutions that are there, you may not see HxGN. You may see one of the brands that they have that they purchased over the years, but that's part of HxGN. That's part of who they are. Heck of a lot better from an engineering perspective for us to land here than it would have been to talk about ERP integrations and accounts payables and receivables and all that fun. We want to get to core problems that our customers face about their operations. We want to get to how can you make assets run better. We want to get back to the work order. We want to be able to do all the things that build up to what that is better. And I don't think we could have done it anywhere else. But when we think about HxGN, there's a lot of other places that we could have landed. When we think about some of the automation that we can do, it could have been in different places. The smart digital reality, which hopefully will show how many people does it take to fix a laptop environment here, is we're going to figure out what it means, because when I look at the tools that are out there, there's something out there called Leica. Have anybody heard Leica tools, Leica scanners, Leica stuff? Leica is an acquisition that they have that's going out to do asset condition and visualization. So there's drones that are going out there. Remember when we tried to do drones with different types of companies that are out there, Dragos and Joint Aviation Corporation? They have solutions that are already built. They actually have one of the best solutions out there, in a solution called BLK to Fly. It's an automated drone that goes out and scans through laser and LiDAR to get visualization of that particular environment. They can produce entire plot diagrams that relate back to what their project design tools have to give a visualization of where there's opportunity and where there's challenge. What can we do? Well, we have our assets in there. We put them together so that we can be able to show a heat map of where we have opportunity and where we have failure. Because what they don't know is they don't know the DNA of the asset. All that we know is the DNA of the asset. So what this meant with all those different tools is this environment, this is where they wanted to be. This environment here allows their solution, their technology, their capabilities to capture the reality of the physical world into a digital framework. Allow them to be able to see what's out there and compare it to what the digital environment would be. And this is comparing some of their design tools to what the real world is seeing. Next is to put some positioning behind it to be able to locate, track, and navigate based on all those tools that they have. On the right-hand side is, again, to be able to look at what that means. In the middle, however, is they're looking to be able to bring autonomy and autonomous capability. So wouldn't it be nice if your asset could help tell you what condition it's in? Yes, we've done that. We've done that for a long time. Some of you have pioneered a lot of that. Wouldn't it be nice to proactively tell you that it's going to fail? Yes, wouldn't it be nice? But wouldn't it be nice to be able to incorporate everything else and all the other equipment pieces that are around it? There's some of the things that they can do, and they're building it through. So when we think about that particular asset environment, we think about this particular division that we've landed in, we think about it's heavy asset focused. That's wonderful. It's a lot better than being stuck in an ERP somewhere. Although New York is a little bit more fun to visit than Huntsville, just saying. Look over here, HxGN Asset Lifecycle Intelligence is where we landed, and we think about what it is. You can look at some of the areas that they've been involved in, world-class excellence, accelerating, like we talked about before, where they're ranked in the ARC environment, the many of years that they've been in business, and some of the areas that they've actually continued to grow upon. If you think about this particular environment of what they build in, talking again about unlocking the potential of data sets that we have, digitalizing it, automating it, and making it as flexible, as optimized as it can be. It's a great place for us to be, isn't it? So we think about here what that really means. What can we do in the smart digital reality? Well, when we think about what we built in, we have new assets coming in and we have existing assets that come in. The new assets that we have come in, we want to understand them as best as we can, which includes the visibility, but we have them in the physical world. That's why we want to digitalize them. We can be able to take images of them. We can take condition assessments of them. That digital definition does not necessarily need to mean something that's visual. It can mean something that's captured in condition like you're doing today. But you have to do that with new assets. Existing assets are the same thing. They are a little bit more difficult to bring in, but you need to bring them in a certain way. And we've got partners that know how to do that. We've got categories that are built up that you can inherit. We have solution codes and failure effects analysis that we can be able to bring into it. And then we can start to get to a point where we can leverage all of that in visualization and relate it over to our other applications. So this is the idea that they're having, is what can we do with EAM? How can we incorporate it into the tools that we have? And when they do that, they actually have a certain framework stack. They have a lot of other tools. We talked about autonomy tools. They have a lot of design tools. They have a lot of planning tools. That was here before we got here. We added the asset management components, the maintenance component. What they want to do is get them working together harmoniously. And that's where you look at understanding what the smart digital reality really is. So if you think about their tools, the buckets that they have built in is plan, design, execute. And on the bottom, operate, maintain, and secure. Those are the three headings, the three buckets of where they have technology. We're fitting ourselves into the maintenance side, the maintain side. This doesn't mean, ultimately, I'm sharing this with you because this doesn't mean that EAM is going away. It doesn't mean that we're going to lose budget. We're actually gaining budget. We've gained people. We've gained work. We've gained a lot into these different organizations because they want to integrate us. They want to build us through. So don't think that just because I have a different shirt on now that says HxGN, that we're going away. We're not. We're actually growing. We're going to be doing more. So expect to see a lot of capabilities soon. We're going to talk about some of that. We released out a synergy that we call it for two applications working together called Asset Investment Planning. Wonderful idea, affects every one of you in a certain way. And we actually have a session that's coming up on it. We'll talk about it more. So when we think about it, what does it mean and what's the stack look like? Well, the stack looks just like this. On the left-hand side, we have all these different solutions that are digital projects. There's a gentleman that's actually here, not here today. He's traveling this week, but he's out of Greenville as well. His name's Jay Schwartz. He's my colleague that oversees the portfolio from the Portfolio Strategy Enablement team on the design tools, the project tools. So when you think of this, I like to think of it as the design, the CAD tools, the project tools, all that kind of stuff. On the asset side, think about our environment that we've lived in, operating assets, maintaining assets, making sure they run efficiently, all that kind of stuff. And in the right hand, you want to make sure that they run securely. So there's a lot of cybersecurity controls that are built into it. I used to always say, and I still do to this day, that we have a solution that operates from cradle to grave. And I've actually been caught where I've also said that we handle it from lust to dust. And the reason why I mean this is because you have to think about the asset you're going to buy before you buy it. And then after you buy it, you have to retire it, break it up. There's a lot more to do. This guy in Greenville that was responsible for the design tools, he came at me, he says, brother, we take it a step further. I go back when God made that asset. He said he does it more biblically. In the beginning, I said, okay, go with me. He said, well, if you look here, when we design a plant, we actually have plan tools that actually draw that out. We have computer-aided design tools, right? And you've had this done in your plant. You have original drawings. You have original PNIDs. You have a lot of different of those basics that you have to look at before you do something to the plant. You then plan that out. You have a conceptual design for it. It goes into a plan engineering practice. You buy it. You actually you build the plant. It fabricates everything you need, and they construct it up, and it's there. Then what happens next? It's got to be handed off to somebody to maintain and operate it. That's where problems come in. Always problems come in because it's not like the real world. Because the real world, you have changes that happen. You have changes that occur. You have to go back and look at the plans, but you don't want to rip everything out before you understand what's inside of it. So you want to go back to those drawings. This was always a problem in this particular environment. So they have solutions there that can take that as a handoff. And that handoff process has a lot of tools built into it, one of which is called the digital backbone. It's where we share components of each one of these products to give it an entire seamless experience. And that's where we're going. The operate tools are things that we use with operators of equipment. So think about tools that are on mobile devices and laptops and machine interfaces, that kind of stuff. They have tools that do that. The maintain side is the equipment strategies, effectiveness, and sustaining. That's what we do in EAM, so that's where we focus. And then, of course, the security definitions are there on the side. This is something that we have built into who we are. We're continuing to build into who we are, and they're adding more components on the bottom. These are innovation components. This is where you'll start to see enablers for automated definition, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud definition. You'll see more things that are built in a lot of the reliability tools, the things that are done in condition assessment tools. There's a lot that they have, and they're bunching them together. This is their framework. This is not who we were 2 years ago, right? We couldn't even go to this depth if we tried back at Infor. They had capabilities, and there were strengths, and there still are strengths, and there still are capabilities that are there. But we were limited on how deep you could go from an engineering perspective. Here, we have no limit. We can go really deep down rabbit holes that you don't need to go follow us on. But there are some that we can be able to build through. To give you an idea of what this means, we have this cool little video. So in this example is a plant, and they have tools that are built out there that are running based on drones. So those drones, maybe you guys have tried to do them on your own, but in this example, there are different types of drones. They actually own a patent on that drone right there is called Be OK to Fly. And what it's doing is it's going out and it's evaluating the physical world, relating that back to a digital definition of that and comparing it to what they did in the designs. And if they can see any difference behind it, then they're going to escalate that, cause a red flag for someone to go look out. There's other ways to put that, not just on a drone. That little cylinder that's on top of that dog's head is the same tool, but it's doing it at a different level. These can do automated pass. These have the collision avoidance. They can go around so they don't hit anything. They can go up and down stairs. This is where we come into play. I can go in to see that something's wrong with this because on a visual perspective, I don't see that it's wrong, but I know from my asset health that it's running too hot, it's vibrating too much. Something's wrong with it and it's going to break. I can provide that visibility. I can actually go in to say, based on the all history and everything being the same, it's probably going to be not only this bearing, but it's going to be some error in this gasket or something else that's going to happen. This is the detail that I can provide. This is that DNA that I can provide. So when I think about all the tools that HxGN can provide leading up to this, they can draw the plant, they can do a scan of the plant, they can compare the two. They don't know that asset's going to break, did they? They don't have an asset management system. We do. They have it now. So if you think about the investment that HxGN is going to take post-acquisition, they're not going to just let us sit. They're going to continue to invest into us. They're going to add more budget to us. They're going to be able to build us out in a bigger way. We do a lot already because of folks like you that are here, but this is an opportunity for us to be able to go even further. The solution diagramming that's built into it of each one of these we talked about is that continuum. To give you a little bit better view, though, we see this as a paradigm at HxGN that's continuous. If you went to HxGN Live, you saw this in our demo zones and different types of places. If you've gone to other events that you've seen, you've probably seen it built in. These are common places that we want to be able to connect different capabilities to. Connected worker, in this example, on the right-hand side of the digital asset side, again, those tools that you want to take out to operate equipment, all the way designs. We see this not just as a natural continuum, but also a logical continuum. As you start to do work in your own facility, you start to see there are changes from it. Maybe the designs need to get changed. Or what was it supposed to look like in the designs? I can go back and update those designs. I should be able to update with that without a problem. Couldn't do that before because it took a lot of other custom work. What they're trying to get to is to be able to build it through. Different tools that they have as you start to build into it are portfolio project planning tools. Again, tools to be able to plan, estimate, identify risk, look at what they're trying to be able to build through, how they can go out to be able to put that into a deliverable for construction, how they buy it, plan it, build it out, what materials that can represent, and building out the facility that's into it. And then the problem comes, how do you hand that off? And that's, again, where that handshake comes in, from the project side off to the asset side, which my area of the world. So this is operating the piece of equipment, the security that's gone in to focus onto it. And what we're attempting to do in this whole framework is to provide what's called a single pane of glass. So on the left-hand side, you'll see some of those data outputs that came from it, whether it's from those design systems or from the operational data from assets works that are going in, or maybe it's IoT systems, to feed those in a way into that digital backbone structure that can make sense, that we can do machine learning from, we can do artificial intelligence from, and then we can provide a visibility to it in a single pane of glass. What we mean by that is we can be able to provide a dashboard that I can see from an engineering perspective what's going on with the production of my equipment. I can see from a maintenance perspective where my people are and where I have major problems. I can be able to see things fed to me in an autonomous way. I can be able to create work orders that are reactive, work orders that are prescriptive, work orders that are based on certain standards that are all built into it. I should be able to get there at one point. A lot of this drives what we want to be is the better decisions on the right-hand side and the better outcomes. The outcomes are what? Quality environment, high producing equipment, reliable equipment, all the same things that we've already done before. What HxGN is attempting to do is by adding us to the mix to bring that into an autonomous world. So in time, it's going to take a while to be able to get these types of technologies working together, but it's capable because of all the history. You can't just jump into this, right? All the experience and all the data that you've been capturing over the years adds to that. It adds to the DNA of that asset. The question is, how do you take that DNA and how do you make it more integrated to the company? And there's a lot of people that always talk about that. Is there a thing that I can be able to do to be able to be less data rich and more information rich? Because a lot of people are data rich and information poor. And what that means is you have a ton of data, but you don't know what to do with it. You have a lot of data, but you don't know what the decision is that you're trying to make. You don't even know what the question is that you're trying to make. This is where we want to get. We want to get to where these particular decisions on our dish can help drive them for you so that you can start. And ultimately, we want to get to where they're artificially intelligent to the extent that I can be able to talk to these solutions that tell me, when is this equipment going to fail? Well, here's a list of equipment that's built into it. Here's the likely candidates that are built into it. There's weather coming. Which assets are going to fail based on this weather that's coming into town? There's a lot of things that's built into it. It makes sense. It's hopeful, and we're going to get there. And we've done a lot of this, even with people in this room, because of the visualization tools, the partnerships that we've had over time. But being able to get into a situation where you can be able to have the right information to make those decisions is one of the most difficult things. You have too much information, you can't make the right decision. The information you have is old. It's too late. The opportunity to be able to make a decision on that is past. So this is where we're going as an organization and where we're trying to be. And be able to recognize that out in visualization is a tool out there that we have called SDX. You'll start hearing more of that as we start to go through, because this is the framework in which we can provide that single pane of glass. This is the framework that we can provide visibility into it. It's a growing tool. It's also one that Javier has picked up as well. He's not here again, so we'll blame him. But he's got one of the challenges of taking these applications and trying to get them all to talk together, trying to get them all to scale together. And a lot of them do already. And they're starting to grow in terms of how they talk together because of the way in which information is brought out to the field, the way we capture it, the way other companies capture it, and to try to automate it through. So it's an opportunity that we have in a big way. And it's trying to join together disciplines that have always wanted to join together, but maybe have had problems too in the past. Such as operations and what we do in projects. From an EAM perspective, there's still going to be opportunity in the smart digitality that we're building out and out of it. If you look into the autonomous future, sustaining the feedback loop that we called it, what this could mean as a basis, as you just saw, is I have tools here that go out and collect data about my assets. They could be things that you have in asset condition inspections, work orders. They could be things that you go out and send a drone for, visualization. It could be SCADA systems that are brought in. There's a lot of tools now that we can be able to deploy because they're owned by HxGN, and they're one of the market leaders in doing it. So this is a big opportunity for us. As you look into what that means, you can build it into here. So some of these things that you can't really read, but these are opportunities for us to be able to improve around the operations that we have built into it. So before it took a lot of integration, before it took a lot of third party, we're looking to be able to have EAM be that component that can help give us visibility. And that's why we've been working on certain categories of our product for these years. We've been trying to get here, but we've had trouble. We've had an area that we've done work On the bottom, asset performance management. And on the right, the smart digital reality. The top left, so the work area, this is where you have the same basic problems of scheduling, people, qualifications, certifications, availability, location. We did some things called, anybody heard of Constraint Optimizer? Yep, some of you have. If you haven't, it's cool. We have some patents for it that was put out. You can get patents on software. We didn't really know that back then, but evidently you can. So we went after it, and its idea is to be able to give me a work order scheduling schedule in a faster way and an automated way. On the bottom, the asset performance management we keep getting from our customers. You already have inspections, yeah, you have conditions, yeah, but can you tell me how the asset is performing, should be performing, and what's best case scenario should be? Well, we didn't really do any of that. Well, you need to, and that needs to be done in certain standards. So we've been doing things around reliability. We've been doing things around some verticals called like public sector and state of good repair. We started adding the asset health index. We have a presentation this week that's going to be talking a little bit about that. We also have some things that are in there at the bottom of budget planning called asset investment plan and capital asset plan. Everyone in this room, if you're in maintenance or operation, I guarantee you have to talk to somebody to tell them how much money you're going to need for next year. That's called your asset investment plan. I need this much money to keep the assets going. And you kind of know that from an EAM perspective today because you run a report. And it can tell you, for all things being equal, this is how much you spent last year, the year before, this is what I should kind of need. What happens if things change and there's a what if? What happens if there's a pandemic? What happens if the materials aren't there? What happens if the employees become more expensive? What happens if your supply chain is disrupted? You have no clue how to handle that. You're going to have to take a best guess. That's what we should do. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have to do that. So we focus on things that are for asset investment plan, short-term and long-term. And of course, the smart digital reality that we've been adding on. So this is why you'll find things here that are built in on some of the maintenance capabilities that we've done. This other stuff that's built in here is the smart digital reality. And if you think about some of the areas that we're focusing on, is looking at the existing support we have for CAD, BIM, and GIS views and making them better. Giuseppe's here, the team here from Milan that are coming in. They're looking to understand here by talking to many of you on what's working and what's not. What can we do to get there faster? What can we do to make it more mobile? What can we do to make it more reliable? Integration on the bottom, support to data lake. Many of you have already done that. But is there other data lakes to consider? How can we take this data set out? How can we push it out? These are some of the questions that we've been asking and what we can do to be able to have that visibility in the smart digital reality. So what this really comes to as an example, so if you look into this, you'll see the digital construction. This is just a normal facility. There's a guy right there. He's carrying a tripod and he has a Leica scanner on him. So he's taking it over to be able to do a physical world to digital world view of that particular environment, because that's what they do. That's what they built it in, right? So he sets it up in those pieces of equipment. Now, if I look at the design tools that they own and they have developed out, there's a design of the facility. In theory, that particular facility should look exactly the same as the designs, right? Wrong, that's never the case. But that's the idea, is I should be able to do that. So I can go into the design tools, I can drill, I can do a whole bunch of different stuff. With the tools they have from Leica, among many, they can actually go out and do this dot view. So they can go out and scan it. This is what it looks like in the real world, physical world. They can do scans of it. It can produce this vision or this view of what they're seeing in reality. And what can they do? They can take that reality and they can compare it to the digital version that they had in the designs. That's where they were stuck before our acquisition. They can identify the differences that they see between the two or different tags that they want to pay attention to. They can take laser images. It's pretty cool. You can see the guy over there on his tripod. But you can be able to see actual visions and panels that are associated with it from the actual laser views of it. So it's kind of cool. I can be able to do that. Because it's a design tool, I can be able to go back in and I can be able to do things like I could before, and measuring tools and distance tools, and is this big enough to be able to walk through, and how different is it, and how can I be able to see all that? All that was stuff that they were able to do before. And it's good to an extent, but it does lead up to a point, and it doesn't go any further. Showing you again, because this is where we come in. This is where we can be able to help. So being able to design it out and be able to see it. What I can do here now is be able to see it as built in and be able to drill and pod that asset that we saw on the roof. So this in particular is an asset that's a little bit different. I have DNA about this asset. I can see the diagram that was taken, the plot diagram that was there. I can associate it to the design tools that are built in there, but I can launch into EAM and see its DNA history. we have a quick tool to do that called OpenCAD, to be able to see it. So I can be able to identify that drawing, I can associate that drawing if it wasn't already associated to it, dig into the DNA for that asset. The DNA is all the work history, all the event history. When's the last time it was inspected? Who inspected it? What did they find? What is the different conditions? What are the different monitors? All that other kind of stuff that I want to be able to see about it. I can be able to see that in because of these tools that we have built in. So these drawings that we have built in can be very powerful, but they can relate to the designs of the facility that comes from the larger HxGN framework. So if I take into this, I can then go see the asset. I can go to my events tab. I can go to my cost tab. I can go to the structure details tab. I can go whatever tab that I want to because I'm familiar with, what I want to see in EAM. This particular one has component structure, right? That design that I saw before didn't see all this. It didn't see the systems, the locations, anything that was built onto it. I can then jump back into, because of the drawing tools, I can jump to 3D views. I can jump into 2D views. I can see heat maps. I can see where there's problems. I can do all that kind of stuff. This is the advantage of taking what we've already done and what we've already learned within existing tools of EAM about asset management, about operating that equipment, about the visualization tools, and jump quickly into that digital reality with their tools. So it's an opportunity for us to be able to expand in a very big way, especially in a way that we were never able to do before. So you can be able to see this particular equipment. You can see some details for it. You can go into some of the reports that are built into it because all that's EAM. There's not any magic here. And it's not something that's as difficult to be able to reach. In South, we call this brain surgery. So it's a little bit different. Some people call it rocket surgery, mixed between the two. The idea is to be able to jump back out. I can jump back in. I can see some of the camera views for it. I can jump back out of it to be able to see it. And this gives me a more practical view of that asset than I could before. So it's designing, and it's operating, and it's maintaining in one. Does that make sense? It's not something, though, that is going to take a miracle to get to, because a lot of what you've already done in developing out an EAM solution and building the capabilities makes the foundation for it. In time, you're going to be able to add a lot of other these tools, as you see, and not every asset is going to really need to be able to have this level of visibility, but it could. Not every asset's going to have that type of concern, but they do. Operational safety, visibility. This is the kind of environment. So this is where EAM could fit in these tools from a reality perspective, from a digital reality perspective, and from an investment of what we have in the overall ALI bit. We definitely think that when we take these tools and we bring them together, we're a lot more productive than we could have ever been. So thinking about our history, we started a long time ago with a few guys in a software shop down the street in Greenville. We've grown it up a little bit. Because of many of you that are here helping us, driving us, giving us feedback of where you need to go, being able to how you build it out. That kind of collaboration, your participation here today, this week, shows that you want to be here for us in the future, I hope. Because as we start to learn more about what we can do, it's only going to benefit us to understand it if we hear what you could do. If you could be able to build on an application and take it to a different level, what would that level look like? If it looked at it from a work perspective, or materials perspective, an equipment perspective, an inspection perspective, what would it look like? And how would it be used? These are the kind of things we need to hear. These are the things we gather in sales processes, and service processes, and partners. These are things that we try to hear as many places as we can as we start to build through. Tomorrow's session, when we go over what we just did in 12, and we start to build out where we're going with the future of EAM, hopefully you'll start to see more of that come to place. But take to mind, again, number one, I want you to leave you with is we landed in a good spot. HxGN is a good place to be. We're getting more attention, we're getting more focus, and we'll have a lot more investment to do newer things. The second thing that you want to be able to do is really pay attention to our solutions we do and make sure they're right. And if they're not, do what you guys always do and be vocal. And talk about what we're missing, what we didn't hit the mark right, and where we can improve, because that's the only way that we can grow. So I'm thankful you're here. I'm thankful it's here in Greenville where I live. Great that we have a good day, and I appreciate your time. Thank you much.